Netflix certainly offers its fair share of original dramas, comedies, and animated series, but it's also given stand-up comedians a powerful new platform. The streaming giant is releasing new comedy specials at a breakneck pace. With the stand-up game notoriously crowded, Netflix's commitment to putting out quality specials has been a boon to veterans and up-and-comers alike, and it doesn't appear to be slowing down. With a ton of quality offerings to choose from, here are the cream of the crop, the funniest, laugh-out-loud comedy specials on Netflix right now. Ali Wong, Hard Knock Wife. Ali Wong is an extremely funny woman, but before her debut Netflix special Baby Cobra in 2016, she was relatively unknown. That changed practically overnight, as the pregnant Wong delivered a hilarious set of profane, edgy stand-up, leading to a much higher profile and an inevitable follow-up that dropped in 2018. Any concerns about a sophomore slump are shot down within the first few minutes of Hard Knock Wife.
The TV is taking care of the baby, okay? The windows are open, she's got gummy vitamins on her lap, she's fine!
Hard Knock is a rapid-fire hour-long set largely concerned with parenthood and pregnancy, but even non-parents will be surprised by her insightfulness, hilarious stage presence, and crack comic timing. John Mulaney, the Comeback Kid. Former SNL writer and occasional actor John Mulaney's 2012 special New in Town announced him as a potential force in comedy with his gift for hilarious turns of phrase.
And then I go over to the Delta Help Desk, which is an oxymoron, and I go, "Can I please go home?" And they go, "No. In fact, we're gonna frame you for murder."
Mulaney followed that with his 2015 stand-up offering, The Comeback Kid, in which the comic takes on everything from relationships to pet ownership to Bill Clinton. It's a high-impact set, densely packed with gags, and it's proof that Mulaney is never more in his element than when he's on stage. Kevin Hart, What Now? Kevin Hart is the rare comic who has no trouble selling out stadiums or playing to stadium-sized crowds. The comic's brash, larger-than-life stage persona makes him perfect for larger venues, as the 2016 concert film What Now makes perfectly clear. But it's the contrast of that persona with surprising digressions into insecurity and vulnerability that really makes his stage material tick. And while Hart's been busy carving out a respectable film career, his considerable talents are arguably best suited for stand-up. Hart takes the stage already holding the enormous crowd in the palm of his hand and launches into relatable topics like male friendships, parenting, and the perils of failing to respond to your girlfriend's text messages.
Fellas, let me tell you something. The worst thing that you can do in life is not respond to your lady's text message. Do you hear me?
It's a 90-minute-long demonstration of Hart's star power, comic chops, and one-of-a-kind presence. And if you're not a fan already, What Now will probably make you one.
She said, so if I got attacked by an animal, you wouldn't come out there and help me? I said, it depends on the animal. If it's a cat, I come out there and kick the cat.
Trevor Noah, Afraid of the Dark. In 2015, South African comic Trevor Noah was given a coveted yet nearly impossible assignment. He was tapped to replace the legendary Jon Stewart on Comedy Central's long-running series, The Daily Show. Noah turned out to be a great replacement, but for a display of just how formidable his comedic talent really is, his 2016 special Afraid of the Dark is more than worth checking out. From an observational bit about New York traffic through the eyes of a foreigner, to a closing piece about actual fear of the dark, Noah casually tosses off zingers while jumping from topic to topic.
He stared that truck driver down as he was crossing, just looking at him like, I've got the light, I've got the light, you know I've got the light.
He's a thoroughly warm and engaging presence, making it easy to see why Comedy Central producers thought he'd be the perfect fit for their flagship series. Here's hoping that his tenure is just as long and successful as Stewart's, and that he keeps dropping quality specials like this one. Donald Glover, Weirdo. Few stars are as hot right now as Donald Glover, who began his career as a writer on 30 Rock and a main cast member of Community.
How many?
36. You win.
Best of 3?
Yeah.
Best known now for creating and starring in the FX comedy drama series Atlanta, and for his recent music video, This Is America. Glover has taken the long road to stardom, and the 2012 stand-up special Weirdo was captured when he was still relatively unknown.
So
Toys R Us, Toys R Us. And we never went to Toys R Us. We always went to Auschwitz for Kids, Home Depot.
It almost doesn't seem fair for one guy to be so good at so many things. But if the acting, writing, producing, and rapping all happen to fall through, Glover can always fall back on his stand-up skills. Bill Burr, I'm sorry you feel that way. If you've seen the Netflix original animated series F is for Family, then you're already familiar with the comic sensibility of Bill Burr. Family's creator and main voice actor, Burr is a comic who's never funnier than when he seems on the verge of completely losing his mind. Burr's crass approach to comedy may not be for everyone, but his 2014 special I'm Sorry You Feel That Way is the most on-point example of his loud, relentless style. Burr hammers away at touchy topics such as gun control, domestic abuse, and religion.
Why wouldn't there be some bearded baby moonwalking across the lake? Throwing out bottomless buckets of shrimp or whatever he did.
Steve Martin and Martin Short. Here's a special sure to hit smack dab in the middle of the nostalgia center for comedy fans of a certain vintage. In An Evening You Will Forget for the Rest of Your Life, Steve Martin and Martin Short are back on stage together for a night of hilariousness, and at times, banjos.
Let's count the awards that you have won. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, none.
Peppered liberally with asides and references to their decades of work in television and film, Evening doesn't shoot for edgy humor or gross-out gags. Some of the material might be considered downright safe, but you can't deny the simple pleasure of seeing Martin and Short working the audience like the pros they are. Sarah Silverman, A Speck of Dust. Sarah Silverman blazed her initial path in stand-up by courting controversy. Her early stand-up work mined laughs by contrasting Silverman's girl-next-door charm with the utterly profane, jaw-droppingly frank nature of her material, and that reputation has continued to follow her around throughout her career. For 2017's A Speck of Dust, however, Silverman tried a slightly different tack, easing off the vulgarity and relying on her writing and comic timing to carry the day. And it worked out pretty well. There's still some risque material in her set, but it's not the star of the show. Silverman's conversational, relaxed delivery is front and center here as she tackles topics ranging from a recent medical scare to the insanity of working for a major TV network. She's a comic who has grown by leaps and bounds since her stand-up debut, and if Speck of Dust isn't exactly the Silverman you're used to, it may very well mark the debut of the Silverman who is destined to be a major stand-up player for many years to come.
It said, I just spent the morning with a woman who watched her son get murdered. And I was like, you think that's bad?
Leslie Jones, Problem Child. Saturday Night Live star Leslie Jones has always been funny, but it's taken the general public a while to catch on. Her role in the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot raised her profile considerably, but her criminally unseen 2010 Showtime special Problem Child put her on comedy fans' radar long before Ghostbusters made her a household name. In keeping with her brash manner and outsized persona, it's an hour of outrageous anecdotes peppered with surreal asides on everything from basketball to an animal conspiracy against Steve Irwin.
Had an undisclosed meeting at a location by a tree stump in the woods. Everybody came, even animals that Steve ain't with showed up.
Throughout the set, Jones returns to a theme of self-improvement, calling out those who would judge her by her appearance and using exchanges with the crowd to help drive home some of her gags. But it's when those surreal, philosophical ramblings take over that she really shines. Jones is a comic powerhouse with an incredible knack for playing to a crowd, and perhaps the most underrated sense of comic timing in the business. And in Problem Child, the full range of those talents are prominently on display. Jim Gaffigan, Cinco. As one of the most consistent and cleanest comics working today, Jim Gaffigan is no stranger to Netflix. As you may have guessed by its title, Cinco is his 5th stand-up special for the streaming service.
I have one for each of my 5 children, so hopefully this is the last one.
As always, Gaffigan's deadpan, somewhat awkward manner and keen gift for observation make him tailor-made for stand-up. Even though he's been successful as a writer and actor, it's obvious that he is most at home on the stage.
There's pressure to enjoy summer, right? I'm from the Midwest. It's almost a panic. Go out there, have fun. Winter's coming to kill us.
With Cinco, he brings an act that's been honed to a fine point. Fans won't find him breaking any new ground here, but when you're as consistently awesome at your job as Gaffigan is, that's not much of a complaint. Gaffigan spends a lot of time taking shots at his favorite target, himself, while making regular asides to offer up hilariously clever observations. Some comics are biting, some are profane, some are downright vulgar, but Jim Gaffigan endears himself to his audience by being none of the above, and proving that you don't have to be any of those things to be absolutely hilarious.
My favorite are the people that carry around the dog in a bag. Whenever I see that, I always think, what an adorable way to let us know you're crazy.